ground in Denver before it's all over tomorrow. Police have reported scores of accidents and numerous road closures. Denver public schools closed early today as well, along with neighboring school districts.
And now, Action News Now Storm Tracker weather. Coverage you can count on.
Power slowly but surely going back on. We heard that Paradise is back on. My mother-in-law in town because the power was out in Fort Bragg, and guess what? The power is back on there, so she gets to go home, and everybody's happy about the power going back on.
Yeah,
but
and we shouldn't see any more of those powers, going out for the rest of the week, as fire danger is down, which is good. And actually,
news,
the interesting thing, you started this newscast, with the snowstorm in Denver. Well, we could have our first freeze of the year for a few of us, and then you also started with the live look of the Kincaid fire, or images of the smoke. Right. Well, I actually have an image for you right now of that smoke. What it looks like now, it's a lot less than it was yesterday. I was showing you the same satellite view yesterday, and you could see a very clear and concise smoke plume from the Kincaid fire going out to the ocean, and now it's almost not visible, which is really good news, not putting off nearly as much smoke as it was yesterday and the day before yesterday. All that smoke was going into the Bay Area. Well, now we still have those offshore winds, and a lot less smoke is coming from the Kincaid fire, so that means air quality will begin to improve out there in the Bay Area, which is also good news if you have plans to travel there. As for a live look out at Nelson, notice the grass out there is not blowing much right now. The wind speeds are calm today. The red flag warning has expired. Fire danger is leaving the North State, which is good for us, but it's still pretty dry out there, so just just still be careful. But as far as the current temperatures right now, a few of you are in the 70s. Corning's in the 70s, so is Orland. The rest of you are in the upper 60s in the valley, and out there in those mountain locations, many of you are in the 40s and in the 50s. As for those overnight low temperatures tonight, some of you could freeze. So an overnight low temperature of 32 degrees in Redding. It's also possible that you'll get into the teens and maybe even single digits out there in the Sierra. But the best chance for freezing in the valley, if you're outside of a city and in a low-lying area, that will be your best chance for a freeze tonight. Otherwise, we should be staying just a degree or two above those freezing temperatures for tonight. And once we go to tomorrow, we'll be warming up into the 70s, and after that, those low temperatures should be well above 30 degrees. So tomorrow reaching the mid to upper 70s out there in the valley, and then in the 50s and 60s out there in those mountain locations. As we take a look at the futurecast, this high pressure system kind of sits over the North State through the weekend into next week. That'll keep us sunny. It'll keep us dry. Once we get to Wednesday to Thursday, a low does kind of swing down, so we can't expect temperatures to take another dip once we get to the middle of next week. As for that Halloween forecast, Halloween's tomorrow, guys. Once you start noon, 62 degrees. We'll be warming into the 70s by 4 p.m. Once we get to about 6 p.m., the sun begins to set, and it will be a chilly and spooky night, but at least we won't be freezing on Halloween. As for the 7-day forecast in Chico, a high of 71 degrees. For tomorrow, not much wind either. As we go to Friday, 73 degrees. Then by the weekend, we're in the mid to upper 70s, and we stay there through Tuesday before we see another dip in temperatures on Wednesday. As for Redding, high of 74 degrees. For tomorrow, rising to 75 degrees on Friday, 77 on Saturday, and then could we see the 80s on Monday? It's possible. Monday looks to be the warmest day across the North State as that high pressure just stays over us, warming us up. But once we get to Wednesday, that low moves in and temperatures take another dip.
All right, thanks, Brian. A new report warns that hundreds of millions of people are at risk of losing their homes as entire cities sink under rising seas. The report, published Tuesday in the journal Nature Communications, shows that global sea levels are expected to rise between 2 and 7 feet over the course of the 21st century, according to the